It's definitely confusing. You know, you can't really explain to anybody why, you know, they do these things. You've got, you know, crazy people everywhere, but there's no explanation for it and there's no good reason behind it.
Yeah, I see them as negative role models. They're not what a true athlete is, because they're not playing by the rules and they're not getting better with they're not trying hard, they're just taking the easy way out.
It's confusing for the kids if they knew, we all knew, that people that were caught doing something, that they would go and have to deal with the law as it's written. But the law is applied differently to different people depending on a number of circumstances and reasons. So I think it is confusing.
The punishment seems like a slap on the wrist, and I think you see that. I mean, by just based on the jerseys you see them wearing around school, and the guys that they idolize. It's a lot of times the guys who are cheating. And maybe they don't root for them out loud, but they see the benefit.
It's kind of saddening to see that these people who you look up to, who you watch every weekend, and you want to see them succeed so bad, and you kind of feel like you're a part of their story, a part of their situation. It's really sad to see when they're fake.
It takes a big imagination to be able to reach the kids with the ideas. I mean, you can't just go, in the old days, you were told, do this, do that, or do this. Well, that's not the way it is anymore. You have to, think up of, different ways to encourage them to go the right way.
As a parent, you have to be a great listener, and you also have to have conversations with your kids and have ongoing conversations with your kids. And then when you're faced with a comment that's saying, well, geez, this player did it, and look, this is what happened, nothing really bad happened to them. Reinforce the fact about consequences, about, that may not have happened in this case, but chances are that's not really what's going to take place.
They can make mistakes, and although they seem golden on the TV, they aren't. So it really falls to you to find someone in your community to look up to, and someone that isn't going to betray your trust.
Thanks for watching this important video. More and more we're seeing stories about how professional athletes are falling from grace, and I want to talk with my colleague, Dr. Steve Schlossman, about this issue. So, Steve, how do kids manage when their idols, mess up, when their idols become negative role models?
It's a really, really interesting point. You and I both love sports. We've talked about this a lot. We grew up with posters on our wall of sports stars. We didn't hear so often about those sports stars messing up, falling from what you called grace. There's more coverage now. So the kids have an opportunity to see it 24/7 on the internet, on ESPN, and a lot of times it really makes them jaded. They feel, look, this guy gets away with it. Why shouldn't I be able to get away with it?
Well, they feel betrayed, but they also wonder, why can this guy get off the hook and I can't?
I think one of the things we have to remind kids when they say this, and I've reminded my own kids of this, is that these people are still human. So when these athletes who are incredible at their art, at their game, they're incredible, but when they mess up, when they fall from grace, they're still human. So they're allowed to make mistakes. We have to give them room to do that. And we also have to remind them that there are some really good role models out there too, some athletes who were amazing and are amazing.
Right, so you had some on your wall when you were growing up.
I did. It's a little bit embarrassing. So I had two. One was not quite an athlete. It was Farrah Fawcett. She was in that red swimsuit, so I guess she was an athlete by a swimmer. But the other was Franco Harris. I grew up in Kansas City. I was a huge Chiefs fan, but after that it was the Steelers. And Franco Harris, to me, was just the epitome of what an athlete should be. He worked hard. He didn't say much to the screen, but when he did, it all made sense to me. He inspired me.
And there's some professional athletes today who are wonderful role models, who've given to charities, who work with kids in schools, who work with underprivileged children. So they do have some alternatives now, right?
No, absolutely. I think one of the things that gets them there is the kind of coaching they have. And as we saw in this video, the coach mentioned that the authoritarian methods might not work in the same way. You can't just tell a kid to do something, they'll do it. I'm not sure that's entirely true. I think what he's saying is that you have to be able to inspire the kids, but you still got to be tough. You got to be tough.
Well, some of our best teachers and coaches are the most demanding and at the same time the most loving, so that they have faith in you, but they're not going to lower their standards, and they're going to hold the line, and they're going to drive you to do better.
Right. Time and time again, when we read about the athletes that we admire, they'll mention those coaches and they will describe them in exactly those terms. And I got to tell you, when I go back to visit the high school I went to, now, 150 years ago, whenever it was, I'll go visit my coaches. The ones who are still alive, I go visit them and I shake their hands and I'm grateful.
Well, now, besides the coaches, some of the kids said we've got to turn to others to look up to. So what do you think about that? I mean, are there others besides those coaches or professional athletes that they can look up to?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's their parents, there's their teachers, there are figures in the community, there's the President of the United States. I mean, there's all sorts of folks that they can look more into, now more than ever before, because of their access to information, and find ways to see things that they can be proud of in themselves.
So somehow having idols of some kind, having people to look up to, can actually inspire them to achieve greater things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a big part of growing up.
Well, I want to thank you all for listening. If you have any other questions or comments, please take a look at the website, and I hope this is going to be important to all of you, and you can talk with your kids about this.